Welcome everyone to this virtual presentation, the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. We're really sorry that we couldn't have you here at Clemson, but we want to assure you that you're receiving the same information that you would receive if you were to come on the tour, with the exception of actually being able to go and visit the labs. We'd still love to have you all next year, hopefully when everything clears up, that you guys can actually get to experience Clemson and get to see a little bit more about the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. If you do have any more information or any more questions about ECE at Clemson that we didn't cover, you can contact Amanda Harris. Her information is on the last slide. We do want y'all to understand that this is one department with two majors, and so when you graduate Clemson with an ECE degree, you'll either have an electrical or a computer engineering degree. And that being said, you can double major in our department, but that is very rare and we actually don't recommend doing that. And we will talk about that a little bit later. My name is Caleb Brown. I'm the one there on the left. I'm a senior computer engineering major from Cumming, Georgia. While at Clemson, I've gotten to be involved in some undergraduate research as well as IEEE robotics, campus ministry. I've played just about every intramural sport that you can play. So it's been a fun 4 years here at Clemson, as well as I am part of the BS to graduate degree or graduate school. And so I will be sticking around next year to get a master's degree. Off campus is also a great place to be. Great place if you like the outdoors, get to go in the mountains, get to go hiking, as well as having the lake and just kind of all the wildlife around. So it's a great school to be at, and I've really enjoyed my 4 years here.
Hey y'all, I'm Emma Cohen. I am a senior electrical engineering student from Charleston, South Carolina. On campus, I'm involved in Greek life, intramurals, various clubs, including Scuba Club, Aviation Club, Amateur Radio Club. So I do a lot of different things, but if you have any questions about that, again, Amanda can direct you my way. But otherwise, I'm also part of the direct entry PhD program. So I will be down in Charleston at the Clemson campus there, pursuing my PhD in power.
Hey y'all, I'm Catherine. I'm a senior computer engineering major from Nashville, Tennessee. Here at Clemson, I've been involved in a bunch of different student activities on campus, such as FCA, which is a Christian ministry, student government. I've done stuff with Legacy Day, which honors Clemson's legacy of giving and its history and tradition. During the weeks, I typically go to Clemson Elementary and do a Future Engineers after school program with them, which counts as a creative inquiry for me. Also involved in a lot of different intramural sports with different classmates from my ECE coursework that I've gotten to be good friends with over the years. And I also studied abroad, so a couple different realms of things going on for me at Clemson that have made my 4 years so awesome. All right.
So a little bit of background about what electrical engineers do. So we like to say that anything that plugs into a wall or runs off of a battery, an electrical engineer has had their hands on. So in this day and age, that is a pretty expansive list, anything from power generation, microchips, robotics, wireless communication, digital systems, electronics, really, that's kind of just some umbrella topics, and that can be applied to just about any field. So whether that's aerospace or mechanical applications with cars and autonomous systems, anything and everything these days you can kind of apply electrical engineering to.
In that same respect, computer engineering is super applicable to whatever your passion is. We like to describe computer engineering as the bridge between the hardware and the software. So the bridge between electrical engineering and computer science. One thing we like to point out is that computer science is a different major than computer engineering. It's not the same thing. That's a common misconception. Computer science deals strictly with high-level software and software engineering, whereas computer engineering, you're going to learn that software side, but you're also going to learn a lot of the hardware and physical side, So that way you understand what's going on physically and can better and more efficiently control that using your low-level software programming. So again, you get to learn both sides, and it's super applicable to whatever you want to do because basically everything in our world has processors in it. So some great job security there and really great opportunity to explore what you want to do while also applying this technical side to it.
So here's an overview of our core coursework within the department. So freshman year, all of our engineering students come in as general engineering students. They'll all take the same classes, some of those intro math classes, intro engineering classes, chemistry, physics, that sort of thing. And then after that, in your sophomore year, you'll declare what kind of engineering you would like to do. So maybe you really liked the forces and the physics and you decide to do mechanical engineering, or you like the circuitry side or the coding, so you do ECE. Whatever that is, you'll kind of get in more into that your sophomore year. For our department in their sophomore year, we like to say it buys you an extra year because computer engineering sophomore year is essentially the same. So you'll see some overlap there with this coursework. Your circuits and electronics classes for one, and some digital systems and background information that both majors need to know will be your sophomore year. So other than one optional class that computer engineers take their sophomore year that electrical engineers can take but is not required, that sophomore year is exactly the same for both of those. Then in your junior year is when you really split off. So for your electrical engineering students, that's when you'll take your communications and controls, power systems, electromagnetics. Computer engineering, you'll delve a little bit deeper into the software and hardware for those processors and computers. Some important things to note about these classes, they are offered all 3 semesters, meaning fall, spring, and summer online. Those summer online courses are offered at in-state tuition for all of our students, which is really great. And as of right now, 100% of our electrical engineering engineering classes are offered online, and only about 80% of the computer engineering classes are. The reason that that's not at 100% just yet is because of the hardware limitations that we have for our students. So we can't expect them all to go out and buy that hardware that they need for those classes, but we're working on finding something so that we can have all of those classes online. This is really helpful because if there's a class that you want to take early or that you would like to take a little later, you have some flexibility in your schedule with those courses. Another important thing is that all of these classes are taught by lecturing professors. So these professors aren't trying to split their time between their research and their students. They really are just at Clemson to teach. That makes them very accessible, very knowledgeable, as a lot of them have been teaching these courses for years, and really great resources for us. Class size as well. So in your sophomore year in some of those bigger circuits and electronics classes, those classes might be anywhere from 100 to 120 students in them, and those lecture hall type classes. But then as you move forward into your junior and senior year, those classes start to dwindle. So in your junior year, they might be only 40 to 60. And then by your senior year, you could be taking some that only have a few students in them, just as you kind of start to specialize. So one good thing about those big class sizes is that you are with all of your friends. You get to meet a lot of people during your time doing your lab work and such. We have labs that go along very nicely with our circuits and electronics classes. These are 1 credit hour classes that are a separate class from, or a separate lab from the class. So those are a really awesome opportunity to kind of get down to a smaller class size of about 18 to meet your classmates during that first year. All of our labs are taught by TAs who are students at Clemson in the graduate school. Very knowledgeable, great resources, and I can speak for a lot of us when I say that we remain friends with our TAs after the class. So that's a really great opportunity as well to meet some other people.
One thing that I would mention about this slide is that if you're interested in more about this coursework, you can look up our curriculum if you just Google Clemson Computer Engineering Curriculum or Electrical Engineering Curriculum, and it'll pop right up on the website.
So going into senior year, you get the option to take what we call technical electives. And so this gives you either breadth into a wide variety of areas in UCE, or you get depth and you can really go deep into one particular area that you might like. Now you can see here on the left, these are just an umbrella of topics that we offer as technical electives. And so like in power, there might be 3 or 4 different classes that would fall under kind of that power category. And so these are really great opportunities to see different things that you might like in UCE and see if it's something that you want to go into industry. or you can find out very quickly that, you know, a certain topic like cybersecurity is an area that you really don't like. One thing to note about these is that you can take them at a 4,000 or a 6,000 level class, and so that's how you start to get into that BS to MS program or BS to direct entry PhD. And so you can count these as what we call double dippers, or they'll count for your undergraduate for your senior year, as well as 6,000 credit toward grad school. Now, technical electives are the main reason why we tell you not to double major. And that is because if you're an electrical engineer, but you find out that you like programming a little bit, instead of going and getting a computer engineering degree as well, you could perhaps take a couple more software classes as a technical elective. And same thing for computer engineers. If you find out that you really like that hardware and that circuit design, then you can go into a little bit more of the electronics area and some more of the circuits area in your technical electives. These are taught by research professors, and so that's a great way to perhaps get into a little bit of research if you want during your undergraduate years at Clemson. And so sometimes they'll actually allow students to come in and work in their labs as part of these classes. And so you can kind of get to see that real world experience. All these professors that are teaching these classes are up to date in industry on these different topics. And so you do get to kind of go into those labs and see what's happening in the real world. And they're really get a lot of that application and understand how you implement all these different topics that you learned in your undergraduate years or in your underclassmen years in practice.
All right, so and then something else that you do during your senior year in this department is you work on a capstone project. So this capstone design course is split up into 2 semesters. So they're 2 separate 1-semester courses where you're going to do a semester-long project with a group of about 5 students in your year. So these are taken the 2 semesters immediately before your graduation, and these are only offered fall and spring. So make sure that you plan accordingly for that. The 5 students are typically about 3 electrical engineers and 2 computer engineers, but it really just is determined by how the numbers shake out for your class and how many students there are in each major. Again, it's a semester-long project, and you're looking at everything from beginning to end in the life cycle of what it takes to create a deliverable as if you were going to present this to a boss for your company. So that means everything from finance reports and how you would break down a startup company and finance workspace and paying your employees and everything like that, all the way to environmental results and reports on creation and even post-project completion, like breaking down the project afterwards as well. So you're looking at all aspects and stages of this project to make sure you get a really holistic view on what you're creating and how to go about that. So Senior Design 1 is typically more handheld. So the TAs are in the lab at certain times and are there to meet with you and help you through, and you have these different milestone checkpoints that you have to meet with very clear requirements in order to make sure that you stay on track, and they lay out what you need to do for each step in order to complete the project within the semester. So they do a really great job of walking you through how to do that and making sure that you understand the process and are doing the work on track. And then Senior Design 2 is more of a free-flying semester, we like to describe it. They give you a project description and their requirements physically and electronically, and then they say, okay, by this date you need to have this done, by this date you need to have this done, and then by this date the whole project needs to be finished and go. And you basically have to work with your team to set up time meetings that work for you in the lab, which is open 24/7 to students because of a code that we have. And then you have to make sure that you're staying on track with your team and getting things done and recalling what you learned in Senior Design 1 and applying that to this project for Senior Design 2. You do have weekly meetings with our teacher, Dr. Groff, to make sure that you're on track. And we like to say that he wears different hats. And during those weekly meetings, he's wearing his boss hat. Other times when you ask for help, he wears his collaborator hat and is there to answer questions and stuff like that. But during those weekly meetings, he's making sure you're on track. And it's very professional feeling with status reports and such to get that sort of feel. So if you're wondering what type of projects we do, Senior Design 1, these past couple semesters, we've had teams build, it's an assigned project. So some of the assigned projects have been a robot that plays chess, and all of these are autonomous systems. So once you press go, it has to do everything start to finish on its own. So a chess playing robot, a robot that solves the Towers of Hanoi algorithm as efficiently and successfully as possible. And then another one called the washer mover that uses an electromagnet to pick up different washers of different colors and move them to specified locations based on a QR code that's scanned. Some Senior Design 2 projects that we've had recently assigned are a planar juggling robot that has to do different juggling patterns and techniques based on some user input and be able to do that successfully. A balancing robot that has to be able to play tag with another robot after receiving Bluetooth commands and controls, and it has to balance sort of like a Segway almost, which is pretty interesting to watch. There's the labyrinth problem that is taken from one of those old games where it's a control system that has a maze that a marble has to go through and all of these holes randomly in the board, and you can't let the ball go into the hole, and you have to shake it to get it to go from one point to the next using a control system. Another one would be track and shoot, typical, follow the target, hit the target type of thing. And then lastly, the Zen Garden, which scans in a QR code of an image and draws it in the sand. So those are a couple of the different projects that we've had recently, but basically all of the projects consist of a computer vision aspect and then a control system aspect where you have to create an electromechanical system and apply control systems to it. So there's lots of YouTube videos. That was kind of just a brief overview of it. But if you YouTube Clemson ECE 4960, you can find a bunch of the senior design videos that the students create at the end of the semester. So feel free to have at that.
So what do we do as computer engineers once we leave Clemson? On the screen, you can see kind of an overarching topic of what we see a lot of our computer engineers go into. So these are industries that kind of computer engineer caters toward a little bit more than electrical engineering. So you can see stuff like robotics, software engineering being a really big one, systems architecture, parallel processing, things like that. And you can see a couple of companies that Clemson has very good relations with. So as you can see, Google, Facebook, BMW, which is right down the road in Greenville and Spartanburg. And so one big thing is that once we get a Clemson engineer somewhere, they like to hire more of us. So we've seen Facebook hire a Clemson computer engineer, and then he brought a couple of his friends along with him. And so we really like that kind of family atmosphere that once they see how good one of our engineers is, they really like to hire more, and they see how hardworking we are. We do have very good job security. As you can see, most of these industries aren't really going away anytime soon. Actually, most of them are kind of just being created and just getting really big. And so that's really good to know that if you go into computer engineering, that you will have very good job security, and you will have a very bright future ahead of you. And that there's also constantly just new innovations coming out in ECE. And so there's a lot of exciting things to be worked on in the future. Another thing to note is that even if you get a computer engineering degree, it does not limit you to these. You can still go and work as an electrical engineer because we take a lot of those same fundamental classes in our sophomore and junior year. We do still have all that electrical experience and hardware experience. And so companies will see that and be willing to hire us as electrical engineers. So personally, I've worked as an electrical engineer at every one of my internships. So by no means do not feel limited if you choose a computer engineering degree. And same thing, if you get an electrical engineering degree, don't feel limited that you're going to be stuck working in power or electromagnetics or something in hardware for the rest of your life, because you will kind of get those skills to work in either. Another thing to note is that you really can go into whatever industry you want. I know we just have a couple of kind of stereotypical ones here on the screen, but just about everything nowadays needs some sort of processor in it to do some computing. just about everything has something electrical in it, whether it be communications, whether it be power. And so really every industry needs electrical and computer engineers. So I've worked in defense, I've worked in ag, working for John Deere. I now work for a company that builds airflow meters and is trying to do instrumentation and data gathering on crops as well, so that we can more efficiently grow crops in different climates. So you really can go into whatever industry you'd like to do.
So as Caleb said, here are some of the overarching topics for electrical engineers. That includes power, system controls, communications, automotive electronics, but then even things from aerial vehicle design to theme park attractions. There are so many different things that you can do with an electrical engineering or computer engineering degree. But again, here are some of the companies that we work pretty closely with. Again, not an expansive list by any means. We are very, very fortunate to have the #2 nationally ranked career center, the Michelin Career Center at Clemson. So the Career Center is a really great opportunity to get full-time jobs, internships, co-ops. Once a semester, they have a career fair over in Little John Coliseum where over 200 companies will come and take resumes and set up interviews for those full-time jobs or internships. And our Career Center also will help us out with resume help. They'll do mock interviews. They will fully set up co-ops if that's something you're interested in. So I cannot say enough good things about our Career Center and the opportunities that they have helped us obtain. So as Caleb said, overarching topics here, but it really is applicable to just about anything that you are interested in. As I mentioned before, I am going into my graduate degree in power. Clemson is one of the few schools that still does offer a power concentration in electrical engineering, just because when the group was established, a lot of schools figured they really wouldn't need power as a specialty anymore. And now with renewables, we really are seeing a lack of power engineers within electrical engineering. So another really great opportunity that Clemson has is to be able to go and do some of that hands-on work and see the forefront of power research happening right now. Yes.
I'm going to say one more thing about double majoring real quick. What we actually suggest you do is if you find out that you like the other degree a little bit more, is to go and get a master's in it. You'll spend about the same amount of time as you would to double major, which normally takes about 5 years, as you would to get a master's. So instead of spending all that time just to get 2 bachelor's degrees, you can go and get BS in one, and then you can end up getting a master's in the other. And so that's what I've decided to do, where my undergrad's in computer engineering, but my graduate degree, my master's degree, will be in electrical.
Yeah, good point, Caleb. All right. So I want to start about talking, I know a lot of parents are probably interested in what about after school? How can you provide for yourself? So we've kind of harped on a lot about employment opportunities after school and how great job security is for our department. But so while you're in Clemson, it's really important that you build your experience resume, no matter what field you go into, but especially in any engineering field. So while at Clemson, 35% of our department participates in co-ops. So what is a co-op? A co-op is a 3-semester rotation. Oops, I don't know if you can see that. Okay. A co-op is a 3-semester rotation that typically occurs like a fall, spring, and summer, not necessarily in that order, but it's where you go and you're working in an entry-level engineering position, making an entry-level engineer's salary, which is not something to turn your head at because that's a very nice benefit, as well as full employee benefits. And you're getting hands-on experience in that position, and you have a mentor, and it's a really great program that is all through our Michelin Career Center that Emma mentioned a couple minutes ago. So if you're interested in that, what you have to do is you just go to the Career Center, and then they walk you through everything from there. They'll set up resume practice and interview practice for you, and then they'll even bring in the companies for you to interview with right there on campus in a couple days period. And it's all very organized and structured and in a way that benefits the students. So again, you're getting that year's worth of experience within your undergrad, which is just priceless, honestly, especially after you graduate and you're going to look at jobs. Typically, it does delay your graduation by a year because you're taking those 2 semesters at least away from Clemson to do work, but the benefits outweigh that cost, we think at least, especially because you're not paying tuition during those semesters. You're just paying a co-op fee to be listed as a full-time student for insurance purposes and for football tickets, being able to use FICE, all those different perks of being a full-time student. But I'm pretty sure that that's less than $500. So it's not full tuition. And also you're making full-time salary and you're not burning your scholarship. So if you communicate with, if you're in state, the Palmetto, but especially if you're out of state as well, if you communicate with your scholarship provider, they should be lenient to allow this period of, or that semester to be taken away for the co-op and not use one of your 8 scholarship semesters. So it's a really great opportunity, highly recommend that. The other option is doing a summer internship, or an internship can be done during a semester as well, especially if you're working remotely and then taking classes at the same time. The internship opportunity, you see the higher percentage there because of it's a 1 semester commitment versus a 3 semester commitment, but both are great options. The internship is mainly on the student to find, so whether it's through that career fair or through a family member's career connections that they can set you up with, that's more on the student to develop those relationships with the companies and find that internship for themselves, versus the Michelin Career Center really helping with the co-op program. So again, that's just basically the summary of experience to get while you're at Clemson. Really great options there, and highly recommend really putting effort and time into developing that experience resume before you graduate. It's really important. At graduation, 70% of our department has a job offer when they walk across that stage to shake President Clement's hand, which is a really great number, and we're really proud of that, especially because the other 30% have a job, are planning to attend grad school. We know that 70 and 33 adds up to just a hair more than 100, and we're pretty good at math in here, so we did recognize that. But that overlap is from people who have a job offer and are still deciding to go to grad school. So basically what you're looking at is 100% of our students having a plan when they walk across that stage, which is really impressive for our department, and we're really proud of that. So another thing that points out is how good our department is at instilling that desire for continued learning and education. It's really amazing that that high of a number of our students are willing to pass up a salary, which you're looking at that median salary underneath, and say, you know what, I'm gonna put off a number around ballpark that and make half of that in order to keep going to school. So that's really impressive that our department instills that much curiosity and learning. Yeah, so again, that number is just a ballpark. It's a median average starting salary for just an undergrad. So one thing that we like to highlight here is that you don't have to have a master's or a PhD in order to get a great job in our department. We have such high demand for electrical and computer engineers that you can come out with an undergrad and get a job no problem and be looking at figures like that. We also see quite a few of our computer engineers, especially going into software engineering jobs, that are making 6 figures right out of school as an undergrad. So it's definitely a great light at the end of the tunnel, but we like to harp on the fact that if you're in this department just for the money, it's going to be a long 4 years to graduate, and it's going to be an even longer 40 years for the rest of your life working in something that doesn't really satisfy you. So just make sure when you're making your decision, whether it's with electrical and computer engineering or whatever you choose, that you're really focusing on what will make you happy and what can provide for you, not just that number that is so nice to look at. So just a couple life thoughts there. All right. And again, here is some contact information, our department website. The curriculum is all listed under there. All the labs, everything like that should be available through there. Here's a link for the senior design videos to see some of those capstone projects if you're interested. This is a Facebook page, but again, you can YouTube Clemson ECE 4960, and it should pop up on YouTube with a couple different videos for that. And at the bottom here is our contact information for our faculty member, Amanda, who's so great and helpful. And she can get you in contact with any connections that you need for more information about the department. And with that, we thank you for spending a little bit of time listening to us talk, even on this virtual tour, and hope you're staying safe, and we hope to see you around Tigertown soon. All righty.
Thank you all so much.
Thanks.